I wasn't planning to find anything that night. I just wanted to pray and sleep. But that night, I opened my husband's Bible to read Psalm 121. And what fell out of that Bible changed everything. My husband had been acting strange for weeks. He would wake up in the middle of the night and go and sit in the living room in the dark. Sometimes I would wake up and see him just staring at the wall. Sometimes he would look at me like he wanted to tell me something, but he would just keep quiet. Whenever I asked him what was wrong, he would just say, "Nothing. You worry too much." But I knew my husband. Something was not right. That night, there was no light. The whole house was quiet and somehow uncomfortable. I couldn't sleep, so I decided to pray. I remembered Psalm 121. I will lift up my eyes unto the hills, from whence cometh my help. My Bible was in the living room, but my husband always kept his Bible beside the bed, so I carried his own. I opened the Bible quickly, expecting to open to the book of Psalms. But the Bible did not open to Psalms. It opened somewhere in the middle. And something fell out. A folded paper. At first, I thought it was maybe church notes or prayer points. I picked it up and opened it slowly. Immediately I opened the paper, my hand started shaking. It was not prayer points. It was a list of names. And the first name on the list was my name. I froze. I looked again to be sure. Yes. It was my full name. And beside my name was a date. Under my name were other names. And beside every name, there was a date. As I kept looking at the names, I suddenly remembered something that made my heart start beating fast. One of the names on the list was our neighbor who had a terrible accident last month. Another name was my husband's cousin who died suddenly. Another name was a man from our street who became very sick without explanation. All their names were on that paper. With dates. And those dates had already passed. My hand started shaking. Slowly. I looked at the date beside my own name again. When I saw the date clearly, my blood ran cold. It was just 2 weeks away. My heart was beating so fast as I quickly flipped the Bible to Psalm 121. When I found it, I froze again. Because Psalm 121 was already highlighted in red pen. But not the whole chapter. Only one verse was circled. The Lord shall preserve thy going out and thy coming in from this time forth, and even forevermore. I felt a small relief. Until I saw something written beside the verse in tiny red handwriting. It said, "Not for her." Immediately I saw that, I felt cold all over my body. Then suddenly, I heard my husband's voice behind me. He said, "So, you have finally opened that Bible." I turned slowly. And the look on his face was not the look of the man I married. I could not move. My husband was standing behind me, and I could feel his breath on my neck. Then he said slowly, "So, you have finally opened that Bible." I turned and looked at him properly. And the way he was looking at me, that was not the look of the man I married. It was like I was looking at a stranger. My voice was shaking. "What is this?" I asked, holding the paper. "What are these names? Why is my name here?" He did not answer immediately. He just looked at the paper, then looked at me, and smiled. Not a normal smile. A slow, cold smile. "You were not supposed to see that yet," he said. My heart started beating very fast. "Yet? What do you mean yet?" I asked. He walked slowly toward me, took the Bible from my hand, and sat on the bed. Then he patted the space beside him and said, "Sit down." I did not want to sit. But my legs were already weak. So I slowly sat down beside him. He opened the Bible again to Psalm 121 and touched the verse that was circled. The Lord shall preserve their going out and their coming in, he read quietly. Then he pointed to the red handwriting beside it. Not for her. Tears entered my eyes. Why would you write that? I asked. I am your wife? He laughed softly. Then he said something I will never forget. I did not write it, he said. They told me to write it. My whole body became cold. Who told you? I whispered. He did not answer. He just stood up and walked to the living room. I followed him slowly. When I entered the living room, I froze. Because on the floor, there was a small wooden box. Black. Old. And around the box, there were candles. My husband knelt beside the box and opened it slowly. Inside the box were many folded papers. He picked one and handed it to me. Open it, he said. My hands were shaking as I opened the paper. Inside the paper, there was only one sentence written in red ink. It is her turn. I dropped the paper immediately. What is this? I shouted. What are you doing? He looked at me with a very calm face and said. For months now, every name on that list, when their date reached, I wrote their name and put it inside this box. He pointed to the box again. And after that, something always happened to them. I started crying. You are joking. Tell me you are joking. He slowly shook his head. Then he said quietly. Your date is in 2 weeks. But tonight, they said I should move your name forward. I felt like the world stopped. I slowly started backing away from him. Then suddenly, the lights went off. The whole house became dark. The candles around the box went off at the same time. The room became completely silent. Then from inside the dark living room, I heard a whisper. Not my husband's voice. Not my voice. A third voice. Very low. Very cold. It said. She already knows, so the date is today. I started screaming and ran toward the door, but before I reached the door, I felt a hand grab my shoulder from behind. Then my husband's voice whispered in my ear. I'm sorry. I tried to remove your name, but they said once the Bible is opened, it cannot be reversed. And then, everything went black. Like, subscribe, and stay close. Because this story is not over.